I've clicked the start recording button. So no cussing and swearing and doing anything that all of us do all the time. All righty. Now, I'm going to read this little dooflicky that's on the screen because I think it's important that Intuit knows I'm not trying to sell their souls. All right? Okay, today's session is going to focus on making ProFile Tax Suite more functional. We have members of a number of associations, the APA&TC, which I belong to, the Institute of Professional Bookkeepers, a group of people from another board on LinkedIn. We could have had more people from the IPBC, but whoever edits their LinkedIn page has to approve posts. So people have been asking, but I can't see them, and the guy isn't doing his post work, so we'll talk to him later. We also have preparers from across Canada, and we're offering this session to anyone who asks through eCourier, which is my practice's chosen file delivery system. Intuit will get a copy because they've asked for it, and they'll also receive the transcript of questions today about today's topics and suggestions from you on the software improvements in the future. So yes, the place that you're typing in it will become a text log that will go to Intuit at the end of the day. So if you've got some really great things you want or some questions you need to ask, if you type them into the log, then I'll be able to answer them, and Intuit will be able to see if you have questions that I can't answer. Next line, most important, let me make this crystal clear. I do not work for Intuit. I'm not being paid by Intuit. I have zero influence on Intuit, period. All right. Little about me. I've been working in the field since 1972. I've been exclusively self-employed since 1982. My practice does close to 2,000 T1s and over 300 T2s and NTR engagements. There's a big war going on about NTR, so that means notice to reader in case you don't know, as well as the usual suspect jobs like T3s, T5s, government filings, bookkeeping management services. I'm not charging for this because I don't need to. I'll eat tonight whether I make money on this or not. Here's the format. You'll see somewhere on your screen a gray box. Does everybody see the gray box? Can you all actually see the chat log box?
No.
Okay. No. On your screen at some point, you're going to see a little red arrow inside a very small gray box.
Oh, yes. And then there's a green one with a microphone?
So if you click on that little red arrow or a little white arrow in a red box, it'll slide open to give you access to the text boxes and show you who is here and all the conversations. Does everybody see it now?
Yes.
No.
Who's saying no to me? Virginia.
Virginia.
Are you working? Are you working on a blasted Mac, Virginia? No, I'm only kidding.
No, I'm on a laptop PC.
Well, there should
and a phone.
Well, the phone doesn't affect so you see no place on your screen, Virginia, where you can type in a question to me. You can. Well, does everybody else have the question box, the chat box? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have it.
Virginia, you get to speak to me. Everybody else has to be quiet. And everything if you say something, you will. Yeah. Yes. And Claire just typed in, if you click view, then unclick auto hide. The chat box will stay open, which is.
No, I'm on Android. I don't have it either.
Excuse me?
I'm on Android and I don't have it either.
On Android.
Yeah.
I'll have to yell at the people at GoToMeeting. You find things out as you start doing this. It's supposed to also work on phones and Androids and iPhones. I've never done that. I'm running it on a laptop and a couple of 8.1s just to see how it goes. Once again, if you don't have the chat box, ask your questions whenever we stop for a couple of minutes, and if I can't answer them right away, I'll also listen to this later on and get that information. All right? So if you got a chat box, use it. If you don't, when I ask for questions, ask me verbally. All right? So then, yes, you're being used as guinea pigs. I want to see if I can get information in an interactive environment instead of the standard webinars. All of us have been to the standard webinars where there's 100 people there, there's one guy talking and somebody that's supposed to be taking questions. I'd rather actually just talk to you people. I think it's a better way to do it. It means smaller rooms, 20 people instead of 100, but this doesn't cost anything anyway, so it really shouldn't be all that tough to do. All right. Now, be good, listen, ask good questions. Don't try to stump the presenter. If the only reason you're here is to try to show me that you know more than I do, do your own seminar. And whoever's got their speaker speaking into their microphone, turn it off because we're getting echo. Back to where we are. Basically, we're all here to learn. I don't consider any of you as my competitors, even if you're in Ottawa. I'm not fighting with Beth. I'm not fighting with anybody else in the city. If we do a better job as a group of professionals, then we make our entire industry look better. Now, that sounds like bullshit, but I actually mean that, or I wouldn't be doing this for free. All right? So we're still having people blip into my universe here. This is what we're doing today. I'll pop back to this occasionally. Somebody flush the toilet? Okay. I'll pop back to this occasionally, but there's a limitation on GoToMeeting or any other Adobe Connect. I can only use one monitor at a time successfully without making it so small on your screen that it's almost impossible to see. So, leave us begin. All of your mics are open. Now, if you mute them yourself so we don't hear you drinking coffee and coughing and yelling at your dog, that's between you and your God. But if you can't mute it, just try to be quiet for a bit, but we'll ask questions occasionally. All right, now, off to ProFile. So this is one of my long-term clients, Herman Schmedlap. Does anybody know where 1313 Mockingbird Lane is? Nobody's old enough to remember the Munsters, are you? That's distressing to me. There's a number of different places where we, in my practice, we use letter customization. The standard letters that come from Intuit really don't do a job for me. This is the face sheet that we use on every client that we do. The customization of these letters, in our case, we use pre-printed letterhead. We have high-speed multi-tray laser printers on every desk, and so color lasers, so that's why we've got the red line at the bottom. We customize these letters up to make people understand things so they can see what happens and how it works. I may occasionally say I assume all of you, but if any of you just don't know this, pay attention. Any point in the letter, if you want to change it permanently in ProFile, all you got to do is right-click on it and tell it to edit the template. It'll pop up, let you do the changes. That's pretty basic, and I'm guessing everybody knows that. Now, we will get into this in a moment anyway, whether everybody knows it or not.
No.
You know, she says. Okay. Some things that and I will get into very specific things in a moment, but some things that we did that we're rather proud of in letter customization. When you have a client come into your office to pick up the tax returns, I'm hoping all of you are doing something resembling an engagement letter that you either get signed when the client drops off or you refuse to file the tax return for them until it's signed after they appear. So we have these engagement letters that we prepare where we do a wee bit of data mining on this engagement letter, because we always have people come into our office to pick up a tax return, and the first thing they say to the lady at the front desk is, geez, I got a refund for $1,200 last year. How come I owe $1,000 this year? So we customize these little letters to put this line across here where it tells the front office people what kind of refunds they got for the last 3 years. And if they can say, no, Mr. Schmedlap, you actually owed $732 last year. It helps as far as getting it back without me having to have a face-to-face meeting to go over the fact that the last time they got a refund for $1,000 or for $1,300 was way back in 2010. This is really easy to do, and we're going to get to all of this, but that's some of the things that we do just on a day-to-day basis to help the practice run better. All right. Let me go to this one here, and I'll start with the easy stuff. And if you already know this, I'm sorry, but I'm not charging you for this, so you can't be mad at me. Well, you can be, but the worst you can do is hang up. All right? Now, this is just one of Intuit's standard letters. It's called a user letter 2. All right? This is really simple to deal with. If you want to set up your letter so it looks like your letterhead, or if you want to use letterhead, I can answer those questions over the weekend when I send the things back out to you. But this basic letter here, I like having my date on the left-hand side. All you've got to do is go to the letter, tell it you want the date on the left-hand side, and before you panic, it never redisplays things until you save the template. So when, just a second, I got to save that, so that's fine. Yeah, do what you're told. No. All right. So it won't, it's going to annoy me. All right, doesn't matter here. Yeah, sure, use it as a template. Don't care. All right. So as soon as you refresh the deal, it repairs your letter templates. I don't really need to have a preparer name because my preparer name's at the bottom. So I remove the preparer name and that pops up. If you want your letterhead to, if you want this letter to look like letterhead, all you do is outline the text, center it, make it be a bold-face type, and then once again refresh it. It'll center it for you. And if you have a bit of, and this is just really simple word processor stuff, so sorry to bother you, or to bore you, I should say. But if you want it to be pretty because you got a nice piece of font that you like to use on your letterheads, you do it like that, and when you save it, it gives you a nice big title at the top. All right? Now, a quick lesson in customizing a template and doing a little bit of data mining, all right, which is all part of what we're talking about. Anything that you can see on a tax return, and I'll just use the F10, and I will use the summary key because it's easier. All right. So the summary page here. If, for example, you wanted to say you've got $47,000 worth of RRSP limit, all right? So you type it in over here, your RRSP limit. Whoops, if I could type it at work, is you do a space, put in a $sign. Well, $sign would work better. And if you click on the $47,000, hold the mouse down for a second, and then just drag it over here and sit that there, then your letter template, or your user 2 template, will now have, if I save this, how much your RSP limit is. Really simple. Couldn't be a simpler thing at all, and that works for any field you can attack inside the program. All right? So first thought there. So anything you want to do, if you can find the field and drag it over into your letter, if you want to know how many people had taxable incomes of $50,000, all you've got to do is drag it over into the letter, and when you save the letter, user 2, it'll tell you that this person had a $50,000 taxable income. Questions, or am I just wasting your time? You can speak now.
Oh, can I speak?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I have a question, and this is a slightly different application of that concept. So the individual letters. Can you mine information on a global basis using these templates somehow? So, for example, creating reports that will give you how many clients have, line 150 income of X, or how many clients have RSP deduction room of, whatever, as a listing. Is that a possibility?
Yes.
I know it's a slightly different application of this, but
yeah,
it's somewhat related.
There's a couple of ways that you do it, and I'm not going to do it right now because it takes a whole pile of screwing around to get it right. Okay. And I don't want you people to have to watch me screw around to get it right. But yes, you can actually create a letter that will then allow you to print the client name, the client name, address in columns, and unused RSP limits, dates of birth if you want to deal with people who are only 60 to 65. You can send it directly to a letter, or you can export it to a word processor, or not a word processor, a spreadsheet program, without a whole lot of difficulty in order to be able to manipulate the data.
Okay. So you can get summary information.
You can get summary information, and most of that you deal with inside the. I'll show you. Well, a quick one, and then we'll go back to what we're doing here. So when you go into, if we want to print just the letter for this guy, all right. So sorry about that. You got me off topic here.
Sorry, we can do it.
It's all right.
If you want.
Well, no, really not hard to do. So when you say that you want to, when you press the F3 key on your Intuit's making a change, by the way. Everybody now gets basically the Premier Suite or the Enterprise Suite. There's no more, you get the full Data Explorers and all the rest of it at the same time. Just a second, I only want T1s. So for SchmidLab here. So when you select SchmidLab here, then you have the option over here of printing specific files in specific forms from the files. Pay attention for a second. Okay, so if you click that and tell it that you want to print a form, if I just type in user 1 or user 1 or user 2, it will then print just that form for me, and that's how we do our tax letters. So we select our clients, we decide what we want to do, we tell it to print the forms, and it'll pick up so in the same function, you can also mine for a list of people that have specific things that you're looking for or that you're wanting to focus on, or you can print out your annual tax letters to everybody that you choose to as a global thing across your full client base. Okay, that was a little confusing. I didn't need, anyway. Sorry about that for those who didn't care. But it is quite easy to do, and if you do it. Yes, you do all of this in Client Manager, exactly. That's what Phyllis typed in. I missed that. Sandra's wanting to know if we can import logos. Yes, but it works terribly.
Good to know.
I would like it to work. The difficulty is that what we're working in is a customized version of Microsoft Word. It's a low-end version, kind of halfway between Notepad and Microsoft Word. All right, you can import graphics, and I have imported graphics. You can ghost your letterhead onto it, but the ghosting of the letterhead and the graphics interferes significantly with the page spacing and the line spacing of the document you're trying to print. So yes, you can, but we just stopped that because it was difficult. Okay, somebody's typing me something. All right, back to where we were at, and just back to paying attention a little bit here. So inside the letter itself, for you to do the customizations for anything you want is actually quite simple. If you want to do complex customizations, it really isn't a whole lot more difficult. So a complex customization, I'm just going to copy and paste one in, and you'll see why once I copy and paste it in, because if I tried to type this, it would take a while, but it all makes sense, all right? Trust me on this. At some point, this will make sense. Over here now. All right, so this little ditty here that I've copied in from another version of the software I've got running says, what it'll do once I save it is it's going to say that you owed $1,050. All right. So, and I didn't bother putting the client's name in. So you can do, if you remember your grade 9 algebra, and that is exactly what this program is all about. So if the balance owing is greater than 0, it's going to say you owed that much money. Else it's going to say you got a refund of the refund number. And I'll show you how this all works. And if client status is 1 or 2, and client status 1 or client status 2 means married or common law, all right, then it'll also bump into, and your spouse had a balance owing or a refund. So to give you an idea, so just let me do this, for 2013, you owed. So for 2013, you owed. Now, if we change him to living common law and go back to user 2, it'll say your spouse got a refund of nothing. If we change him, and just so I can show you that I haven't just got a bunch of made up letters. Currently he owes $1,000. If he paid $9,500 worth of tax, then the user 2 letter would come up and say you got a refund of $948, but your wife owed nothing. This makes sense to you people, or is that just squirrel-eared and all get out?
Yes.
Okay. Do any of you do this? Because I'm wasting your time if you already know how to do that. I will say then, I will continue. Okay. It reminds me of programming is exactly correct, Nunir. You do. And yes, Tim, I assumed you would know how to do this. All right. Now, okay. So quick letter customization is simple. Once it just to rehash anything you can get on your screen from any part of the tax return program, you can customize and move over. So what we have a comparative income statement and a rental statement, I should say, and if you want to move Mockingbird Lane over to here, when you go back to the letter, it'll put, well, if I save it first, well, I can't do that. Okay, I won't do that because it's going to piss the program off. All right, now, to get to usable customizations, and that's the 10 seconds on. Can we also indicate a combined balance? Absolutely, Sandra, because the combined balance is right here. So if you drag the combined balance onto the screen, well, actually, combined balance is better taken from, you got to figure out where you need to get it from. So your combined balance is better from the F10 daily comparative summary, because it'll put it over here for you. All right. Yeah, I know that. Don't worry about it now. So it will move things over and give you the combined balance, if you see what I mean. Are there no privacy issues showing both on one letter? My clients initially sign a letter saying they understand the privacy concerns. So between husbands and wives, I'll honestly say I've never had a husband sue me because their wife knew how much money they made. Because they come as a group, and the wife's income tax return is already disclosed on the husband's as far as taxable income and that type of thing. If they're doing income splitting, as far as I'm concerned, no. Somebody may sue me someday, and if they do, I'll tell you, is about the best answer I can give you. All right. Sorry about that. I hadn't thought about that. I'll have to have a new thing I'll have to get a new thing in my privacy letter that I send to people saying that husbands and wives can't sue me. Now, okay, getting back to what we were talking about, that's a quick letter customization, and any specific questions I will be overjoyed to ask. If you want to know how to get something into a letter, easy to show you. The data mining that we do for our tax letters, the first thing that you need to understand to make, and this is our standard annual tax letter that we send out to people. Let me get that off the screen, and let me get this one over there. Gone blind. Edit template. Okay, so these are the standard letters that we send out. We're in the process of doing one right now. We'll have this sent out by the end of November, so we beat the Christmas card letters, which means people don't look at anything. All right. Now, this works in a extraordinarily similar way to everything else. The data mining, because all of the data in the program, or all of the data that we want to use, is simply data that's in our program, and it depends on how many years worth of people you have looked after. We send a letter out. Let me grab a standard letter here. So personal tax letter, personal tax letter. No, sorry about that. That's our what the hell are you doing letter. Go away. Compilation client takeover, personalized tax letter. So we send out a tax letter every year where we attempt to make everybody feel comfortable that they are our only client. And it's personalized. It's got their names, a bunch of information about their family. My scanner scanned both sides, so sorry about the blank pages. We tell them what we do, what else we do, estate and executor services, remind them they've got to have a will. And then we get into specific details about just their lives, where we say, this is what your RSP limits are, Dr. Newman is this, you have children born on this date, last year you had a rental property, you had self-employed income, that type of thing. And it has been quite successful for us because it first of all reminds people, and people tend to give it to their neighbors because they've never got a letter that actually has specific information about prior year's tax returns. All right. Something that you mentioned, Lisa, when we were speaking is that you did this, but you found it annoying that you had to carry forward all of your tax returns before you could do the letter. Correct or incorrect? I've lost Lisa. Your phone's muted,
Hello,
Lisa.
yes? Do you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you now. So,
okay, exactly. Because the way our system works is when a client comes in the door to drop up, we then carry it forward, and that's one of the tracking mechanisms that we use. So we had to change that.
Well, no,
we
but
carried everything forward, right?
You don't have to. It's very well. What you really need to remember, people, is that the tax letter I'm sending out in November of 2013 for people to get information for me for 2014 is based entirely on the 2013 database. So when I'm doing my letter, I am doing the letter and mining the data from the prior year's tax return. So it gives, I don't need the tax return carried forward. All I need to do is know that Herman Schmedlap had a $47,250 RSP limit on his 2013 return when we filed it. So you don't need to carry them forward. We don't carry them forward until the client shows up. Yes, that's exactly how we do it, Lisa. But if you use when we do the letters, we do it inside the 2013 data because the 2014 data is of no value to us anyway, really, when you think about it. So easy to do.
I'm not sure why I thought I had to carry them forward to print the letters off, but
you don't.
Anyway. Okay.
But it works just fine. And one thing that we have, this new foreign property question drives me crazy and the people in my office crazy because people say they don't have it, and then a year later CRA finds it and they say, well, you didn't ask us. So this customized letter, it doesn't look very pretty, but this carries 99% of everything that we have to do to keep our souls intact and not have clients sue us because we didn't advise them properly. So this mines data for last year's, once again, Lisa, it mines last year's data to say Herman said no, he didn't have property worth $100,000. That does two things. First of all, if he does have property and he didn't tell me, I can easily show I asked him. So I'm not liable because he didn't answer the question properly. But it also, we get a ton of information that helps with our electronic contact and with our, I hate to say it, social media contacts, because people actually read the piece about dates of birth, email addresses, that kind of thing. We get a ton of information from this for doing almost nothing other than sending them a letter and making them believe that they're important enough to us that we keep track of this stuff. Now, we all do it anyway, but they never know that until you show them. All right. Now, backing up a little bit and going on to where we get our data from, and you probably already know all this, but bottom line in the effort, it's always a pain in the butt to get people to tell us if they had a new child. How many people have found out 2 years later that they had a child? It's a little better now because the child benefit form actually comes to us if they remember to bring it. But this letter, so if Herman baby has a child, so if Herman has a child and we type in whatever, so Henry Schmedlap, a son, and born in 2013, 0101. So as soon as we change that, then the user one letter will come up to say, if I save it, the user one letter will come up to say that you have a child named Henry born on this particular day. And do you have any more? Because people do not tell, at least they don't tell us. Maybe your clients are smarter than ours, but we end up all the time getting people who have kids that they never tell us about. The other thing is you also, by just a little bit of data mining down here, it'll tell you on the letter that, not that letter, sorry, this letter, that last year you had 10 grand worth of child care and summer camp fees once you put that in, which is not in-depth data mining, Well, it's a pretty in-depth data mining when you take into account how many stupid phone calls you have to make if you don't tell people that last year you had it, could you bring this stuff to me this year? It works very nicely for us. All of these things are looked after in these little lookup tables is all they are. So we have some families in the area that believe in having as many children as they possibly can. We've never found one yet that doesn't have more than 12 children. All right. If we do, the table's expandable for the rest of time. All right. Now, everything else in the data mining portion of the letters that we send out to remind our clients is based entirely on what goes on in prior years. And it's anything your practice tells you you want to know. If Herman has a rental property, so Herman has a rental property, and this right now is just set up, but when you put, if he makes $1,000 on the rental property, then what's going to happen is that the letter is going to let him know that last year he reported rental income. Please remember to include a brief breakdown of your property for 2014, mortgage, interest, principal, taxes, that type of thing. It saves us time. It saves us annoyance, all right? And it's something that we ask the questions early, and the client generally responds to us. And once again, let's give you the, do people actually know you can do these things across the top of the screen so you don't have to spend your life trying to track down where the files are for commonly used forms? You can do the little icon buttons. But so if he has $1,000 worth of income in SmedLab contracting, then it'll also pop in and say, whoops, wrong one. It'll pop in and say that he reported business from income or self-employment. Remind him that I need, if I'm not doing the books, I need statement of operations, payables, receivables, detail, long-term asset additions, disposals, that kind of stuff. Everything that we all already do. And it pounds them in the head and says, if you don't have a mileage log, they can reduce your vehicle allowance down to 0%. So once again, this is covering our asses, my ass, your ass, everybody's ass. The client has been told. They can't say, well, Norm never told me, because we give this letter to all 1,500 families that we look after, give or take a bit. I've rambled on long enough. Well, let me know if there's anything you're wondering about, or if this makes sense, or if you want anything done. You can turn on your speakers, or if nothing going, then we'll...
That's a great idea. It basically just makes it very clear.
Norm?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you send this out?
How can you set it up so it only sends one letter to each family?
Aha, damn fine question. Okay. When you're the thing that I told you a few minutes ago, all right, about the print function, in F3, where you're going to do the assembly for this client letter, mine is always set up, I don't know how you guys set it up, but I do not cancel. I don't include the spouse in my list. So whether the husband's my main client or the wife is my main client, I don't include both halves in my list. All right, I have husbands and wives as a group, and that's just the way it is. It's the easiest way for me to look after it. So when I select, if I select, and I'll show you a couple here. So if I select Dave and my little brother and another little brother, it lists these ones here, and the letters that I send, Sandra, are always customized toward dealing with families for these letters, but I print individual letters with the actual tax returns. I don't do joint letters for husbands and wives on the tax returns. I do individual letters for the tax return when a client's coming in, because I want to be able to set the husbands in front of him and the wives in front of her. But for this, if you don't show the spouse's name in the list, then you're only selecting whichever your client member is for the family. That's how it works. Does that make sense, Beth? Not Beth. It was Sandra. Sorry. My mind went sideways. All right.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
when you do the template for the letter, you can set it up so it says, you know, dear Jane and Bob or whatever.
Yeah. Now, exactly. And so, well, that's what this one says. It says, Herman, if you will allow me to if you'll, well, you don't need to ignore anything, so I'll just grab my own tax return, and if you want to tell everybody about it, I couldn't give less of a rat's ass. Okay, so here, go away. So in a husband and wife situation, that's what you get, right? My letters are all customized. These letters are customized to say Norman and Elizabeth Adams. But for the individual letters, for the actual tax returns, it just says Norman Adams for me. And if you flip over to Beth, then Beth will get an individual letter from her tax return as far as the actual tax return preparation. And the engagement letters are separate for the husband, the wife, all the kids that we do tax returns for. All right. So that's the basic thought on that. Now, Tim, I have never tried to send, I'm not sure how it will do it if I tell them to send the, I'm not sure how it's going to name the files, if you understand what I mean. If I print 2,000 letters to a PDF, it's going to be a 2,000 page long PDF or not.
Like one document,
I haven't tried it, but it should work, because if you set it up as, you can't do it through the ProFile, the ProFile PDF printer, but you could do it through simply making Adobe your only printer and pressing the button. It'd be really quick to find out by just making your default printer the Adobe and try 3 files and see what happens. I don't know.
Or you just print, or you just do the select one, the print one page and print it to whatever your PDF is. But
Oh,
you
no,
have to do
exactly.
one at a time.
It's just a matter of whether or not you want to have to do that 1,500 times, Phyllis.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. No, I agree,
Yeah.
but it can be done.
Oh, absolutely. Can be done without any difficulty at all. All right. It's a matter of, I've never tried it, so I'm a lion bugger if I tell you I know it works, Tim. Sorry.
Okay, so can you address my questions too, Norm?
Okay, I'm sorry. How can you make the date?
I typed like a good girl.
Well, no, exactly, and we're now at questions. I asked for questions, so again, privacy issues, can you make it fit on one page?
Yeah.
What do you mean, profile or the letter?
The letter. Every time that I've customized,
Yep.
and I've tried to make it either fit on one page or duplex print the letter, every time I do an update, it defaults back to 2 pages.
Mine actually never does that.
Okay.
You do know how to. There's all kinds of places in these letters where there would be a natural page break. You know how to you know how to force a page break, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. But you lose the page break. It
I
disappears.
lose the page break. Yeah. The one I had problems with last year was the engagement letter, because it naturally defaults to 2 pages, and the second page is just the thank you very much, and then the place where they sign. So I tried to either duplex print it or make it fit on one.
I understand. I know. Okay. Yes. There is no suppress widowed lines, is what it calls in a word processor software. Yeah. I have the same problem. My engagement letter ends up, I force a page break here, and I put some basic crap on the bottom of the second page, because it always prints 2 pages no matter what I do. So I just gave up on that one. So yes.
So Mr. Intuit, can you please look at that for me?
I will make sure that they get that. All right. Now, back up.
Can I
yes.
ask something here? The one that's having trouble with printing, does she have more than one? Do you have more than one computer?
Yes.
Try it on another computer. I'm having issues printing.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of my computers in the office. It will print fine on some systems, and it won't print on others. And when if it's one of them problems, no one really can help you. ProFile will tell you it's your system, and your tech expert will tell you it's ProFile.
Is it an operating like an operating system configuration
No idea.
issue?
Like on my personal computer that I use, I can't print 2012 personal tax returns. I can't print them from my system. I have to go to one of my staff computers to print them.
Oh,
but
my goodness.
I'm having stupid little issues with that, but it's only with print. So try another computer to make sure that it is a profile, like an issue, like all through your system, or just on one computer.
Great. Okay.
All right. Let me. Okay. So, or can these be emailed, or is it only for snail mail? That's basically what Tim's asking. And I have never tried it. Yes, I send them snail mail, and if you'll allow me to kind of slide sideways a bit, the personalized letter that I send out to people every year, we also send out another insert that that we use to try to get people to do their job better for me. So I need some place to put this personal tax letter insert that tells people what we do, where we do, and gives them a list of things that they need to bring us so they can sit down and read it over. This is actually the wrong year. This is 2012, not 2013. But so we snail mail it because it's a simpler way to get it into people's hands. We can send in this package if we want to send a calendar to people, which I almost never do, or a pen or a pad of sticky notes. So we've never bothered snail mailing it. We also have, I don't have an old client base, but I do have probably 200-300 considerably senior citizens who wouldn't check an email if their life depended on it. So rather than trying to edit my client base to make everybody or to keep track of who will and who won't open an email, we just one time mail everything to everybody. We send a package out, they get it in the mail, it comes in a pretty little letter or a pretty little envelope that says this is our annual corporate tax letter, that kind of stuff, or our annual personal tax letter. So yeah, I mail it. It's a pain in the ass and it costs a ton of money, but that's what we do. Okay.
Norm, I actually think there's value in that. You know, I think that increases the perceptual value of the service and the information that you're providing. It's a little more substantive than an email. I think it's a wise way to do it.
The really odd thing is, ever since we started doing this, we have people that we have never met before come into our office that have got this from their next door neighbor, got it photocopied, and then come in to ask us if we could do their tax return because no other accountant's ever bothered asking them these questions. They send out some little CGA checklist or something like that. So if you spend a couple of minutes and actually look like you give a rat's ass, we've got a pile of clients from next door neighbors because we send out this piece of paper tax letter. Yeah, so it works. All right. Now, are you willing to send us a template for the letter? That's Evan. Everybody but you, Evan, yes. Not a problem.
I'll send you mine, Evan.
Yes, no, any templates that we use, you are welcome to have. They work across all years and all versions of ProFile because the nice thing about ProFile is that it has kept almost everything exactly the same as far as the fields, the actual data fields inside the tax return. So you can take this letter and print a letter out for your 2010 people, although God knows why you'd want to, but you have to manually change 2013 to 2010 in the letter, but you just do that with a search and find field and it fixes them all at the same time. But yes, I'll be happy to send whatever you want. Absolutely no problem at all. No bidding war? Well, come on, Evan. You can't afford anything. Now, somebody in Beth's office want to know, where is this template located? Which template are you talking about?
How about just show them where the templates are?
It's going to be, okay, here, the best, for instance, is this. So if you go to options, templates.
There you go.
And so the templates are here, and if you haven't done customize, and you have to select which year you're looking at, but in this instance we're talking about 2013. So if it's got a box beside it that says use default template, so let me show you. If I open my letter, the use default template thing goes away, and if I edit the template, and this is the letter that just goes with the personal income tax returns, this letter comes up. All right. If you go into options templates and tell it that with the letter you want to use the default template and click on the edit button, it goes back to the very original Intuit template that is for the entire universe's understanding. Okay, so you customize the way you do it. Every spring, one of the bits of work we have to do is every spring we have to load the internal Intuit template because it has changes and there's new forms, that kind of stuff. And then you put the customizations back into the new letter every year. But that's where they are. on my system, which is not the same as the systems that you guys have, but on my system, because everything that we do is based on a file server setup, all of my profile information is stored on the file server, and the letters are all there. You can tell it where to put the letters if you want it on a common server, which is the best way if you're going to start customizing letters. Remember that unless everybody is using the same letter template, everybody will have to customize their own letter. Now, we used to put individual signatures depending on the tax preparer on the bottom of the letter, but now our letters just say we're part of the office, call Adams and Associates, and somebody will look after you. It doesn't matter who prepared the tax return. Okay, so if you understand the concept, there's that. So now, what other questions we got? Yes, I'll send them out to everybody when I do this. I'll send out just the 2013 templates, and you guys can bear in mind it's going to say Adams and Associates all over them, so if you don't customize it, you'll just be getting new clients for me. So thank you very much. All right. Is it the Yes, ma'am.
With the templates, where we have, like I have, I don't know, 10 or 12 computers in the office, and all the programs are on every computer. Yep. We have to input them templates to every single, into every single profile instance, right? No,
you don't. Do you have a peer-to-peer server or an actual file server in your office that all the
We have a file server.
Where do you store the data files for ProFile?
On the server. On the server.
Then you need to do something similar to what I just showed you, Beth. And if you make under your profile settings, which you will have profile settings on your server, just make a spot for templates, and then go ahead and copy all of the templates into that subdirectory. Once you do that, and I'm getting off to, well, no, this was making this sucker usable, so I'll show you. When you go in under templates, on every computer the first time you do it, Beth, yes, you're going to have to tell it where the template subdirectory is for customized templates, which is on my system, profile settings templates, understand? Then everybody in my office, or no matter what computer I'm on, Beth, whether it's here at home or my laptops, will access all of the current updated letters, and they're all the same for everybody on the planet because the letters are on a server being accessed that way. But yes, my tax software, ProFile's installed on each individual computer. It's also installed on the server, but ProFile's not really good at being a server-based piece of software no matter what Intuit says. It's better on individual systems than it is on a server. Okay? Anything else about, okay, so.
Norm?
Yes, ma'am.
Can't you also just have them use options and just load whatever, like do it on the one? That's what I do in my office, is I just make all the customization on mine and then load it as an option, and then go to each one of them and just make sure that they're loading the same options.
I've had problems with that options thing because it never seems to be consistent across the board somehow.
Yeah. Mine works.
Yes, and Tim is saying the same thing. Sorry, Tim. Yes, I'm trying. I haven't figured out yet how to make my eyeballs not point in the same direction at the same time. So I'm sorry, Tim, but yes, I see that. If you go in under options and options administration, we have numerous settings for, depending on which computer they're on, and all kinds of things. All individual settings are. All the letter settings come from home main. So home main has all of the file locations, the letters, all the rest of it. Each individual person, though, has a different, so they load file main and they save it under their own name. Because what happens is, Kelsey, for example, never does a tax return, but we have her system set up to print PDFs and email them to banks or whatever if the client asks us to do it. So you can have different but the option settings packages will make it so every computer in your building knows where your files are. All right, and we could do a whole day on that sucker, because you can see there's 3 different options and you can do this, that, and the other thing. But basically, if you apply the user-specific options from the profile POF of this computer and then load the package, it remembers your print sets, because print sets are not something that goes across everything. All right, print sets are, because other than my office, I don't think anybody was stupid enough. We have 7 identical printers, so we went and bought all multi-tray, high-speed HP laser color printers, and everybody has the same printer. So I wish that print sets would be across all servers, but they can be, but it annoys me, so I don't do that. Okay. So my templates are on the server and everybody's system automatically looks there first, so I make the change on my system. Exactly, Evan. That's exactly what we're talking about. Yes. And so that's how it works, Beth. If you put them on the server and make sure that everybody's profile is pointing to those templates, you got no problem. Everybody will pick up the most recent version of your updated letter. However, like I said, be sure that it doesn't have just your name on the bottom of the letter. If you want it to do something else, you've got to tell it to select the tax preparer, not just your name. Okay? So next. Sorry, back to here. I can't guess at everything that you guys are going to ask me. So is there anybody that has anything they would like to ask about anything more about data mining or print sets? Because I'm happy to talk. I love talking to people. You may have noticed. Oh, sorry. Can you make the date static without overwriting? Not that I have ever been able to figure out. That's something I would like to have as a static date, yes. Now you do know, you do realize that if you do this letter here, all right, and you tell it that if you do any minor customize, if you personalize the letter, Phyllis, then the date is stable. The date will never move again.
Oh, so you have to go into each one of them.
Yeah, for this particular spot, yes, you would be able to do that, and so you can make an individual letter for a client that has a specific date. Let me get rid of that because I don't want that to happen to me. Go away. Cancel letter. Okay, so if you, I guess why do you care, Phyllis?
Mostly it's from the invoice point, Norm, but okay. I was just thinking that if you could attack it in any other field, then I would know how to do it on the invoice. Because I invoice from ProFile, yeah. So the package that goes out with my client to reception has their invoice on it. Then if they come back in and I go to reprint the invoice or charge them for adjustment or whatever else, now the date's changed, right? Or on the T183s, if you go to reprint the tax return, the dates are all changed.
Yeah, no, yes, and that. Do you know how to fix that, Tim? Is that something that you know how to repair? Because that's not something that I have ever done, or that I know how to do.
I override the date.
Yeah, and that's really what their solution is too. If you override it, it'll stick. But I don't want to have to override on every single tax return. But that is what they've told me. Now, when I talked to Cam last year or the year before, he said he'd address it in tax cycle.
Yeah, but do bear in mind that Cam also wrote this piece of software.
I know, I know.
And he never figured out how to do it here, so
I know.
We'll wait and see is about the size of it.
Yep.
I will look at that. All right, I'll look at that and see. And okay. It's entirely possible that you can grab the date that the tax return's prepared from somewhere and put it into that letter. Let me just, I think I know where I can find that, but I won't bore you people with that while we're here. All right. Yeah, well, and do remember also, like Tim says, there's a signing date here on the info screen. So right. I'm guessing that if you made that be a permanent number, then it won't change. Is that right? That's what you're talking about, Tim? He's not listening. Okay, well, he is.
I do it on my authorization letter.
Okay, so if you do that there, Tim, then it will permanently make the letter date be that date, is what you're guessing. I guess we could find out.
So he's saying override it on the signing date, and that'll default it on everything else?
Let me see. Okay, well, we can find out easily enough. All I've got to do is if I change the signing date to 09 and go to the letter, but I screwed up that letter because I told it that I wanted to save it. Just let me get rid of that. close. User letter. Oh, just the Tim says just the T183, not the user letter. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So no, the user letters aren't affected by that. Okay. I'll have a look, and I think there's a couple of Intuit people actually online now, so quit slagging their product, Lisa, or I guess that wasn't Lisa that was slagging the product. but
No,
anyway.
I wasn't slagging their product.
Okay, no, it wasn't you. I think it was probably somebody from the East Coast. They're like that. Okay, now, moving along. Print sets. Somebody was actually at our breakfast meeting a little bit confused about how print sets work. I won't take long because I guess most people understand how the print sets work. But you do understand that if you go in under options form selection, that you can save all of these. All you do is you put in the forms that you want to print, and it'll only print the forms that actually have something on them. And it'll save it across the system, and it'll look after that. It'll let you PDF certain forms. It'll let you print 4 per page. It'll let you do duplex sets, all of these things. You can change the language from French to English here, which we don't want to do right now. But all of these things are available anytime you want and can be saved, so every tax return that you print is like this. T1 e-file, for example, we have ours set up to do where the print sets are selected. We move all of the stuff up to the top because for some god unknown reason Intuit puts it all right down at the very bottom, 200 lines down for the letters and things. But once you move everything up to the top, select what you want. We have one that we print full size, which gives us client letters, that type of thing, the 5-year summaries, engagement letters that we give to people, and then the pension splittings. We have ones that we print 4 per page, which is everything else, because we are old school. Yes, our clients like to have a tax return in their hot little hand. It's only about 4 or 5 pages long, but I do print 4 or 5 pages for everybody. So I don't own a soul. If the soul wants to go to another tax preparer next year, they got a tax return, because nothing pisses me off more than getting those goddamn 1-page pieces of crap from H&R Block when a client comes from them where you're trying to figure out what goes on. So I can't control everybody. If they go, they go. They've got a 4 per page tax return, which means you need a really good magnifying glass and strong glasses. Yes. Hello. Okay. Now. Yes.
You said that you moved those items up. Do you just click and drag them and they move up, or?
Yeah, if you do, just to show you, for example, if I wanted the slip summary to be at the top,
yeah.
Click on it, hold the mouse down, and then just watch. You pull it to the top, and you can reorder things the way you want them, or at least I reorder them the way I want them. So
yeah.
to take it to the top.
And can you carry forward your print setup from one year to the next?
Absolutely. Just give me a second. That was one of the things you guys were a bit confused about. So you see now the slip summaries at the top.
Holy crap, that's the one piece I learned today. That's awesome.
Well, I've always said you learn one thing, life is good. So
life is good.
2014 at the moment is just the way it comes from Intuit. All right. So I've got 2014 installed, but I haven't done anything in it yet of consequence. So we'll just go to the T1 e-file, which has got the T183s and everything in a really weird order. All you've got to do is click the carry forward button. See the button? Click it. There you are, all done. Didn't know that either, did you?
I knew that.
Well, I hope everybody does, but I'm afraid some people didn't. So that's all you've got to do, and you will find occasionally a way that when ProFile creates a new form that wasn't there in the previous year, you'll find that it ends up only in the first column. So if you do a carry forward and there's a new form that wasn't there in the previous year, if you just scroll down to the bottom, if there's nothing in one except the things you want to be in one, then all the forms are selected and they're fine. That's how that works. All right. And so easy peasy. Now, archive and PDF sets are as simple as exactly that. I mean, you just tell it you want a PDF and you want a PDF of what you need. So there's 5 columns in this piece of software. If you use them properly, the first 2 columns are for the client. this column is a PDF, and PDF selects everything that's in any of the first two columns. So I've got everything that's in there. The T7DRA, because it's an orphan form and it's the wrong size, and I put it in a separate print set all by itself, so it's there. And then these ones, the final one is the things that I have to have the client sign, the engagement letters, T183s, 1032s for splitting, clearance certificates, that kind of stuff. So things that I need a real signature on, including the foreign property, are printed separately, but they are part of the PDF package. Now, just to show you what that does, if you've got things set up properly, just give me 1 second. So if I decide I'm going to print Herman's tax return here, it's going to tell me we've got problems. We know that. So if we only print the things that are PDF, once the software is set up properly, so you click on the print PDFs, and the setup for the software, and I'll show you that as soon as it's done printing. So under Options, Environment, there's a tab for PDFs. So if you tell it to print all PDFs to a specific subdirectory, I'm an old Cantax user, and I can't help myself, so I still need the 1013 Plus, even though I haven't used Cantax since 1996, I think it was. All right. So if I look in that spot on my hard drive, where one tax T1 down here, 2013, because we're dealing in 2013 PDFs. So now we've got the Herman Schmedlap PDF sitting in there with the whole tax return printed in full size. So if we want to, if he calls and authorizes me to send it to a bank, then it takes 1/10 of a second to just ship the sucker to the bank. At the end of the day, or the first thing in the morning, the secretarial staff goes through that PDF subdirectory and moves the PDFs into the client file itself, so that where are we here? Where's my little brother again? Danny. Where's Dr. Dan? Here. So you'll see in here that we have got 2013 T1 for Kathy Adams, and that's because we've gone through, or I had the secretarial staff go through and drag all of these into the proper subdirectories for the clients. So it's easier for everybody to find. The emails are fine for banks, that kind of stuff. All right. Any more questions on PDF printing and saving of the entire tax return package? It's pretty simple. I don't know if everybody knew that. I assume we all did. But if you got any questions, ask away.
Now, by default, Norm, when you print it to a PDF using the actual profile options, it'll just dump it into your same file directory that your tax file is in.
Absolutely.
As a PDF.
Absolutely, and yet the annoyance for me only was that, and I think we've got some old ones here just for instance, the annoyance was that you would get into tax return, well you get into, well let's be clear, we do 2,000 T1s, so you end up with 2,000 T1s, 2,000 PDF files, actually more, yeah, 2,000 PDF files, and every time you print it, it creates a new PDF.
Yep. So
it's simpler for us. We first of all force it into a separate subdirectory called PDFs instead of having it just end up in the returns. It's just a personal, it's a personal choice only is all that is. But it works for me, and it's all about me. I know that in my own office anyway. So that's why we do it like that. All right. How do you get the forms to the top when you want them? So you already saw that. Remember, Tim should be screaming this from Whitby. If you do not save your option package when you leave, everything you just did will be gone. All right. So if I want to be sure that this works, you have to, first of all, under the options packages, if you click prompt to save changes, then you will never be able to leave again without it saving a change. I don't tell it to prompt to save changes because sometimes I screw around with stuff just for a particular client and I don't want that to be global. So I save it if I want to save it. And if I screw up and forget to save it, it's my fault. Understand? So, but I really hate to overwrite my option package with a pile of crap just because the program says save it. And we all know that we never do this, but the second it says save it, you just click yes and go. So I admit. Okay. So that is, here endeth the epistle on the PDF printing section of our universe. It's pretty simple. You can also print anything you want out of ProFile through the ProFile PDF printer. The pain in the butt about the way Intuit has it set up is that it will try to grab the ProFile PDF printer for other things, and you get a system error because you can only use that for ProFile. But that's the way it goes. All right. T1 adjustments, and I once again I had, from one of the breakfast meetings that we had last month, I found out that one person really believed that the T1 adjustment process meant that they had the form for us, but that you had to type in the numbers yourself. So I'm going to give you the 2 second, and you can all say, well, I'm smarter than that, but I'm going to tell it just in case anybody, because nobody out there says, oh, I didn't know, has to say I didn't know that and feel like you didn't know it. But the T1 adjustment form, I've gone blind, filing, sorry. The T1 adjustment form is only for, you've always got to remember that it's a little different file, and snapshot variants, create a new one. Sorry, my mind went blank there for a second, or more blank than usual. And then you go to, and so we've saved a new snapshot of this one as it is, and if we have another $20,000, $2,500 worth of income, and you click in that box there and tell adjust from snapshot 1, it does the adjustment for you. That was one of the reasons. The first traveling roadshow I went to back when Cam Peters was just delivering this piece of software was at the Chateau Laurier downtown, which is good that it wasn't here a couple of days ago. But it was the Chateau Laurier downtown, and every accountant to a human inside that office, when he did that, basically bought his software, because that had never happened before. That was that. Now we do most adjustments online now, but still this is pretty sweet. It does a really nice job. Okay, so that
but the government doesn't like it that way.
I know that.
They like you to just change what's changing, what you're changing.
Oh, I know that really clearly. However, the government doesn't always get what they want. If we file the form, they have to process it, although they really hate it. Yes, I agree.
I have to admit, too, the clients are really impressed when they get that form. It really warms you.
Oh, I know. You're a star, aren't you, Sandra? This is some of the stuff that Intuit does to make us look really good, and it is pleasing that they give a crap. Now, okay, back to where we were, and I'm not being nice because some Intuit people might be here, because I really don't know if any Intuit people are here, but we got to be good just in case. All right. Does anybody need me to tell you about family linking? And yes, you have to announce if you don't know how that works.
Somebody at this office says yes.
Okay. To make this work, well, no, to make this work is easy. All right. So Herman's now married. Just give me a second. Herman's now married. We're going to flip Herman over, and we're going to create a return for the spouse. And she's going to be 111111118. And I don't care if they're both the same, and that's Mrs. Frida Schmedlap. All right, so she's born here, and she's much older than her husband. She's born May the 7th, which is my birthday. You know that now. It'll be in the recording. You can send me a birthday present. All right. So we've now got him and her, and that's a pretty simple concept. We all know that. It works fine. You know that if you flip back and forth between husband and wife, life is good. We'll give her a bit of a T4 for $15,000 worth of income. Just give me 1 second. I hadn't set up for this, so just give me a second here. 569.25, and where are we? 282. And we'll give her a little bit of a refund of $1,250. All right. So as far as this is concerned, everybody knows this. You know, husbands and wives. We won't process a husband without a wife or a wife without a husband. We refuse to do tax work for one part of a family if we don't do it for all of it, because there's way too many transfers, refundable credits, pension sharing, tuition fees, child care. If we don't do both, we don't do them. End of line. You don't like me, go somewhere else, is basically what goes on. And you all understand, or I'm assuming you do, but I'm going to do it anyway. You all understand that if we go back here to Herman's kid and make Herman's kid be, well, we'll make him old enough that he could do something. And once again, we're going to use that phony social insurance number to make this work. And then if we say we want to return for Henry, it's probably not going to let me have 12 people with the same social insurance number, the communist bastards. Does anybody know the next number? Does anybody know off the top of their head the next free social insurance number? Or do you even know you could do that?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8?
4, 5, 6, 7, 2.
You won't let you do it. Oh, you don't have validate SIN numbers on. Thank you, Nasser.
Yeah, 1, 2.
222, 222, 226. There. Okay. So it should create now. It should create a return for this kid. Return for Henry. Yeah, we want to create a new return for Henry. All right. So once you do that, then this set of boxes becomes more, and the family sharing, the family linking part of the universe goes here. Whether you're aware or not, it doesn't have to be a minor child that can be linked in a family situation. If you have a parent or anybody that qualifies as a dependent, and that's a page in the Tax Act, not hard to do. Okay, but if you have anybody else, I've got a number of people with senior parents who are making basically no income, are in care centers, that type of thing. You can also link them to this group of people for purposes of transferring unused pension exemptions, caregiver credits. If they're in care centers, you can transfer the medical expenses more easily if the family returns are all linked together. All right, and it is yes, ma'am.
Is there a way to link them if we've already got them set up?
Oh, absolutely. Because if
return, they're not linked.
Okay, so let me save that so I get that gone, and then I'll show you. So if we delete Henry here, all right. So Henry's no longer part of the group. So we'll save that again. So Henry's not part of the group. As soon as you open, if you now type into here, and I'll show you. So there's more SMEDLAPs now. SMEDLAP. So you've got SMEDLAP happening. Here's Henry, all right? So if you open Henry's tax return, what'll happen is that if you type into here, if you type into here, where the hell, I've got way too many forms open at the moment, F4. If you go into here and type in 222-222-226, it will pick up his tax return, and his tax return is now linked. So the linking is based on social insurance numbers is how that works. So so mom and dad, right? Mom and dad are now in a home, and you've been doing mom and dad, and you've been doing daughter and husband for years, and they need to be linked for sharing a bunch of exemptions and credits. You type in the SIN number with the tax return open. You open the mom and dad, you open the kids, you type in the SIN number with the parents as a dependent, it'll automatically link the returns for you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that one.
That's fairly cool, actually. It's one of the better things that they've done with family. And all right, past that. Yes, ma'am.
Show them how to uncouple them too, because it's way easier to uncouple them in a tax return than it is in real life.
Yeah. All you've got to do to divorce people, which is really cool, is click File, Uncouple. So whenever you uncouple Herman and Frida, all it does is it creates a totally separate tax file for Frida, and I'll show you. Yeah, we're going to save that. All right, so let's get rid of this kid. Yeah, we're going to do that. Actually, we're going to do this, and File, Close. All right. So what had not been there before when we pressed F3 was that there was no tax return for Frida. Now there's a tax return separate for Frida. Before it was Herman and Frida. Now it's just Frida. And if you have not been doing everybody in the family, all you've got to do is load this one, and then if you say File Couple, it's going to ask you who you want to do, and you type in SMEDLAP and do a search. And so, true enough. I'm back to you, Nasser. What's the third social insurance number that I can use?
Norm, here's 1, 2, 3, 123456782.
123456782.
Yep.
Okay, good. No, that's fine. 123456782. Thank you. Okay. So these are all things that you're not supposed to use. And remember, when you use these phony social insurance numbers, always remember to delete them from the T4s before you send them in. The government gets really pissy if they get a whole bunch of 111, 111, 118 social or T4s. I know this from experience. All right. So if you're going to then couple, so now we've coupled them back together again, but all you've got to do is click on couple, open an existing tax return, and type in SMEDLAP again, and we should now have Herman twice. That doesn't matter. I've screwed up the social insurance numbers. We're going to stop that because it's annoying me. Okay, so there we are. Okay, done. Yes, ma'am.
Is there any way, like, if you have a married family and, say, 3 kids, and you uncouple them, how do you how do you have the kids linked to a specific parent, or can you link the kids to both parent returns individually? Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay, you mean if you have separated parents, separated or divorced parents?
Uncoupled the parents, they got separated.
Got it.
With 3 children, and
is there a way to family link that?
19 years old, so you've got tax returns for the children as well.
God, I have absolutely no idea. That I've never even tried to link 2 people to different parents. You can't.
Yeah.
Well, they are linked to the different parents if you've just separated the people, and the danger is that you claim the child amounts on both parents, and there's only one available.
Yeah, and that's...
Yeah, I was thinking more along the lines of having the flexibility to claim the tuition amounts to different parents on different years, you know?
I think, for my 2 cents
I
worth,
leave them there and try not to make mistakes.
That's...
Can each of the parents' individual tax returns be linked to the children's returns? So can a child's return be linked to 2 different other tax returns?
Absolutely, as long as you don't open both parents at the same time.
Okay.
But I would,
even if you do, they'll be in different groups, and sometimes you see 2 or 3 in the group, and then you close those, and the other ones reappear.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Got it. I see your questions there.
On the dependent sheet, there's a form, did the dependent live with you? If you say no and keep the dependent there, the credits will not transfer.
Right.
Okay. Here. On this form, Nasser?
Yes.
Now, on this form where? There's no yes or no on tuition fee transfer.
Yeah.
Now, I know you can do it by overriding on one parent to push it to another parent, but if there's a yes or no slip, or a yes or no switch, I would be overjoyed. The only yes or no is whether you claim the child on line 367.
That actually is a good suggestion to go back to ProFile, though, because there should be an option on somewhere here asking you which parent you would like to transfer the tuition fees to.
I do this.
Overriding it in 4 different spots is, asking for a problem, right?
You have this checkbox.
You don't want the clients deciding,
Let Nasser tell us what he's about to say, please.
I do this, and you have this box, did the dependent live with you in 2013? Here, down please, this one.
There.
That one, yeah.
Okay, and I just change it to no and leave the dependent there so that the parent doesn't get the credits.
Okay. So it will.
But then that's
it'll leave.
As no on both parents' views. Like switch over to the other parent view now. Well, that still appears no.
No, you have to change it to yes with the other one. It doesn't do it automatically.
Okay.
And
that will determine where the tuition gets transferred to? It only gets transferred to the yes parent?
My scenario, the children are under 18 right now.
Okay. Well, my suggestion for ProFile was to give us an option to indicate which parent we want the tuition transferred to for that dependent. Because sometimes you don't necessarily want it transferred to the default parent. Sometimes you know, child A, you want to go to the mom, and child B, you want to go to the dad.
Because as odd as it sounds, Nasser,
to go back to ProFile.
As odd as it sounds, Nasser, we actually have parents that fight over who gets to claim the tuition fee credit because they want the refund to go to their individual bank account instead of going to the other parent.
I mean, I know how to do it by overriding. I'm just saying I shouldn't have to be overriding all these different forms. There should just be a spot I can click.
So those are questions that will go to Intuit, and hopefully they'll be able to answer the question. Okay.
If I'm not into it, but if the parents are living together, then the ProFile does the best optimization. I have seen people asking that they still want to override that transfer.
Yep.
Yeah, well, sometimes
no, ProFile doesn't. It gives all of the children to the higher income parent.
Well, sometimes those items are completely irrelevant. If you're filing tax returns late and one parent owes money and the other one doesn't, you want to transfer as many items on the parent that owes money as you can to get them down to not owing any money so you don't get any late filing penalties and interest. Sometimes it's just other that we do it.
I understand what you're saying, Sandra. It would be good if we could click a button on the software and say, the same as with the medical claim that says, I want to claim it even though I shouldn't. It would be nice if we had one button that says, I want to claim everything to do with this child, or I want a little list that says, I want to claim the dependent, I want to claim the tuition, I want to claim this, that, and the other thing. That would be nice.
It should be entirely up to us. And the same concept, it's easier to do, but the same concept for fitness and all of those amounts. It is easier to do those amounts, but it should just be a little button that you click.
Yeah, you find it a lot of times in blended families when it's your kid and not your partner's kid. It becomes an issue.
Oh, continuously, yes. Okay. So everybody understands family linking. Maybe everybody didn't know about linking the parents and the grandparents and the next door neighbor's kids if you're related to them by blood. But that's fairly simple. It does its job better than anything before it, but at the same time it has some shortcomings that all of us know. So we'll try to get into it to pay attention. Whether I can accomplish that or not, we'll find out. All right. So PDF printing, we already went through that. Does anybody have anything else they want to know about PDF printing? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. What about the bottom of the dependent screen? There's a transfer section. Yeah, it does work from there, Tim. Yes, the work from there. Part of this one, or I guess the minor pain in the ass about it is you've got to do the F2, force it to go somewhere else, and occasionally it'll end up where it screws up the provincial transfer for tuition fees. And you got to go and override it again.
Yeah, you got to do both this form and the provincial form. So that's the nuisance.
You can force the transfers from these disability
and university or college in one family.
Yeah.
You're just asking for problems.
Now, in general terms, we also my practice, we refuse to claim tuition fees if we don't do the kid's tax return, and that's all there is to it. I think it's cost us a couple of clients, but the pains in the ass when we used to do it where the kid would file it and claim it and then the parent would file it and claim it, it's not worth the trouble anymore. I'd rather lose a couple of clients than have to spend unchargeable hours fixing a screw-up done by the kid's roommate at college. So that's okay. Now, other frustration, Trillium benefit. Yes, I know. The Trillium benefit has become a pain in everybody's tuchus. But people of Ontario elected Kathleen Wynne, so you're stuck with this. That's my only editorial comment. There. Anyway, Ottawa did not elect the Liberals. We strongly voted against them, but Toronto, GTA loves the Liberals for some reason. Okay. So PDF printing was pretty straightforward. For all intents and purposes, That's everything that paperless office systems, that was on there from a previous one where I did one where I was going over paperless office systems and that kind of stuff.
Norm, can I just ask another question about ProFile?
Hopefully I can answer it. Go, give her a shot.
Is there any way using the Form Explorer or maybe some other way I don't know of, but is there any way what I'd like to do is, like in April, I'd like to get a list of all of the 2013 files that I have not yet carried forward, because I don't batch carry forward, I carry forward them as I do them.
Yep, same as me.
So is there any way I can get a list of the 2013 files that I have not yet carried forward?
God knows I wish there was, but well, you can get it out, out of Client Track, yes. But in ProFile directly, Tim says yes. You're going to turn on your microphone, Tim. Tell us, please. Sorry, no mic. Okay. What am I going to do for Tim? Do you have a telephone? Call us. No, I'm only kidding. All right.
He says.
Just a sec.
Norm, can I send you a list of my pet peeves about ProFile that you can include in what you send them?
Absolutely. You have my email address in case you
Yes,
don't.
it may take me a few days to do it, though, because I'm away.
Oh, no, and there's no problem with that. There's not a panic on that. But, yes, anyway, my email address is pretty easy. It's norman@adamsandassociates.ca. If anybody else wants to send me an email with specific questions that I don't see in the Tim is dialing in at the moment, so that may work out for us. Tim now has a it works, Timothy. Go for it. How do you do this? I would be overjoyed.
So, excuse me, I haven't done this in a little bit, but so under the Client Explorer,
yep, on the screen,
you have filters, right?
Yep.
So if you enable your filters, you can then select what status the tax returns are in.
But if they haven't been carried forward.
Oh, okay. So you're looking at last year, a comparison of last year to this year, then.
Yeah, and that's what we've been trying. I was hoping I could, and I've thought about this myself. What we currently do is we just go through the list one at a time and see who hasn't showed up, which is a pain in the ass. But I was hoping that we could just click a button or do a filter that would allow us to say, we did this one in 2012 and we didn't do it in 2013, and just give me a list of people that didn't come back.
Yeah, I think that would be a great thing to forward on to ProFile as well, because, I mean, I like to touch base with people in the last half of April and, you know, just kind of remind them to bring in their stuff or whatnot, and it makes it easier to figure out.
Yeah.
Well, I used to do that, but not through ProFile. I'd export it into Access, and then I would just manipulate the data through Access. And after a while, I just gave up. It was just too much work.
Yeah.
But like you can do that.
As Evan types, yes, you can do this in Client Track for people that use it. But
what about if you use the carry forward under the client status on your Client Explorer? If you unclick that, will that just tell you anybody who's not carried forward?
No, that's a good idea. Well, we'll see. Apply.
But is the carry forward from a prior year into the current year?
No, that would still be something. It's just reading the statuses, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you still would have had to carry it forward. It's still only reading that 1 year.
Yeah, that's reading what's been carried forward. We want to know what has not been carried forward.
Yeah.
But then couldn't you just print 2 reports out and then combine them in Excel?
Oh yes, there's lots of workarounds, but I don't see why I should have to work around when it seems to me a no-brainer. Just put it in another option there. Has not been carried forward, and click it, and you can have it in half a nanosecond. We do it in Excel. You know, we do it in our own little client database, but to be able to do it here too.
It's a great suggestion, but mathematically and programming, it's actually much more difficult than what you think, because they've literally got to compare lists between 2 different years of files.
and everybody's files are in different locations.
But no, it doesn't have to compare it, because when a tax return in 2013 has been carried forward, it adds a marker to that tax return that has already been carried forward, doesn't it? So it just has to go back to the 2013 and figure out which ones don't have that marker.
Well, I'm looking at that now though, and what goes on, just a second, I gotta get the filters back up. So this does give me a list of 2012 and 2013. I'll get rid of 2014 because there's no point in that for the moment. So it gives me a list of 2012 and 2013 tax returns. Some people, Bradley Aldridge, I didn't do a 2013 tax return for. All right, so he's not carried forward.
No, I mean,
yes. But there is no option here for not carried forward. There's only an option for carried forward.
I mean, I don't want to have to look through 2,000 or 3,000.
Oh no, neither do I. Hey, I'm with you. I'd like to figure it out too.
That actually tells you very quickly. You just have to scroll through it.
Oh no, I know. You can do that. Yes, you can do that, Beth. You just click through it until you see ones that only have one line. But once again, so you get Steve Breno, I didn't do the kids' tax return this year, that kind of stuff. But I'm hoping for a fully automated thing. But we'll ask.
It's just a good suggestion, I think, to go to ProFile if you're sending them something.
Yeah. All right. So, whoops. Roll the mouse the other way. Any other questions of any kind? Happy to talk to you. We've got whatever time you need. It doesn't cost me 10 cents more to run for an extra half hour or to quit now, so it makes no difference. Don't save that, whatever you do. There. All right. Done. Any more in detail look at how this stuff works or what you can do with it? I think I've told you everything. All we care about is, in our odd little world, is children, childcare, rental units, self-employed businesses, or commission income or professional income. We keep track of all of that as we're going along. Any self-employed farming income. We look after whether they have carrying charges in previous years. We look after whether they reported mutual funds to remind them not to be stupid. Just a second, I will show you the letter that we put in with everybody's income tax returns. When they come in too early, we all love the early people, but how many early people are we doing 4 and 5 times as they bring in more goddamn T3s?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Got that one.
This is important. So once we have that, then we put this letter in with everybody's tax return after they come to us that says, don't save the damn things. So if anybody's got T3 income, that letter automatically goes in to say, remember to bring us our stuff. And that way they can have it. We can PDF it. It already is PDF. We can email it or deliver it. But there's been everybody, you guys are getting your matching stuff the same as we are now. And people will bring you 2-year-old T3s and say, oh, I forgot about this, and I got this letter from the tax department, and they want a whole bunch of money from me, but yeah, well, assholes, the third time in a row you've did it, and third time's the charm. They never reverse the penalties again after you've done it 3 times. But anyway, so yes, we do keep track of who has T3 income separately so we can remind people to do their jobs. And whether it's husbands or wives, and everybody knows you can't deduct safety deposit boxes this year, so we had to customize our letter to get rid of that and remind people that tax return preparation fees are not accounting fees, that kind of shit. So, other than that,
do you know if ProFile is going to allow us to download slips from CRA's website this year?
I'm just about to start the beta testing for 2014, Tim. At least I said I would. Whether they let me do it or not, I don't know. But it is supposed to happen. I'll know better once I start the beta testing, but I have to sign a non-disclosure agreement once I start, so I can't tell you until the beta testing's finished. But I haven't started yet, so as far as I know, yes, because I know that DT Max is already downloading slips direct from the Quebec government computer, their Carswell, and that Tax Prep has done it a couple of times, blew up, was thrown off the CRA systems. That's all supposed to be part of this year. But however, we're still not going to get T5s, T3s. But that's part of the tax preparer program with CRA. Those aren't going to happen. But yes, it's supposed to be able to download and import, or that's one of the things they want to do. The only editorial comment I got about that one, Tim, is that there still are a huge quantity of people who aren't required by law to electronically file their T4s. So the T4s are still going to be really late being added into CRA's system, and downloading is good, but it's not going to give us everything we want. I kind of like to see the piece of paper, but that's just me. I'm old. I know that. That's on my letterhead. I'm old.
In our office, Kelly did something, and she actually was doing some importing from the CRA, I believe it was the CRA website. She might confirm that she's online, into the actual software last year. So was that possible? That was supposed to happen last year from the the represent a client information,
yeah.
right?
What went on? Last year, after they blew it up the first time, then that you are allowed to import tombstone information for capital gains, RSP limits, home buyer plans. That was part of the my client, my account thing that ProFile did use. It worked fine. There were no real problems with it, but it wasn't importing specific slip information, which I'm pretty sure is what Tim was talking about, where it actually just grabbed the T4 and put it on the tax return program for you.
So that's the second phase?
That's the second phase that they are supposed to be doing, yes. Now, shameless plug for TaxCycle and DocCycle, and I've used their software for a couple of years as well, although I'm staying with ProFile because, as far as I'm concerned, ProFile is just a better piece of software. Cam's not done yet with TaxCycle. It's going to be a great piece of software. All of us know that he's never made a piece of software that wasn't fantastic, whether it was TaxCycle or ProFile or TaxCycle, or I should say, what was it called? CanTax. Yeah, they were all great until Cam left, as you noticed. ProFile did have some difficulty a couple of years ago, but have done a nice job of rebuilding. And Cam's product is going to be good, and his DocCycle software will import slips that you scan directly into the tax software. I looked at it. I was not impressed. It's not reliable enough. I found that we were taking more time checking to see if the scan was right than we would have to just type it in. CCH Scan is another one. Tax Prep has a very good piece of software called CCH Scan, but it also is just plain and simple not reliable. And I don't know how long it's going to take before proper OCR
can't have
works.
If there's even a 10% or a 5% chance something's off, then there's no good.
Diane is wondering, represented client is, what's the method for sending receipts documentation along with the same as post-assessment reviews using document numbers? At the moment, well, I don't know, did all of you go ahead and sign up to allow CRA to start sending you your pre and post-assessment reviews by email instead of fax or paper? That's on that. You can do that now on the represent a client site. There's a new place for email disposition and what you're allowed to do.
Do you have to set that up on each client, or can you do it globally on your representative?
Oh no, you do it globally. Well, the slightly annoying part of it is apparently you can do it globally for all of your clients, but but all of the emails will come to you. So even though all of my tax returns are registered to my e-filer number. All right.
Yeah.
And so if the ones that Amanda does, I would prefer to have them go to her, but at the moment it's going to go to a centralized mailbox for everybody under the e-filer number. So we're doing a bit of dicking around about that. So if you got multiple preparers in your office and they're occasional, then emails could be going to people that aren't working for you anymore, depending on how you set up your email programs or your own internal email programs.
And the email you're referring to is the email you have when you register for your like when you re-register each year for your e-file stuff.
It's just part of your setup is really all it is. So under represent a client, just a sec here. Let me get this back over onto the screen. Yes, good-looking people here. We know that. Now, at least Some of the staff are good looking. Represent a client, all right. So CRA login. Don't show me anymore. All right. So under the tick, 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 tick. Come on, guys. So under the review and update tab, for me in this one in particular, you can what is it called? Register? No, manage rep ID information. Manage online email. And view and update email preferences, update links to e-file numbers, cancel registration online. So view and update the email preferences. What they are talking about is now that you would be able to have that as the central contact instead of mail or fax.
Oh,
which
cool.
would be a good thing. It would be if it works. And a pile of the guy, one of the accountant geek boards I belong to is called Tax Board, and they have been looking at that for quite a while, and it seems to work well. They're mostly a testing site for Cam Peters software at the moment, but they've got a bunch of good CAs, CPAs across Canada that look after that stuff. So that's that. Sorry, next. To send in this T1 adjustment directly, I guess where I got off on a tangent there, Diane, and sorry about that, is that once the internal email systems are set up, you should be able to send that plus the documents in the same as you do for the post-assessment reviews under the document number. At the moment, the only way to do this is by paper for the T1 adjustments. You can't email it. You can fax it, but you can't email it. Okay. Anybody else? Or anything else? Start, log off my server, go away. Yes, Sandra. Yes, Sandra.
Can you go to the T1 adjustment again, how you showed us how to take a snapshot?
Sure.
Norton, did you hear Beth's question?
Yeah, how do you take a snapshot?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So we've now added in the $2,500 for this guy. So you go under Audit, Snapshot Variance, and you just tell it to create a new one. So this becomes snapshot number 2. Close that. When you go, so if we made this T4 now be for $25,000, for example, so we increase the income by $22,500. When you go to the T1 adjustment request, which is under Filing, T1 ADJ, so we have an existing one here, and generally I keep them all. So if you go under Form and New Form, it'll give you a new blank. You right-click on it, and it'll adjust from Snapshot 2, which increases the income by $22,500. So that's what you have to do. Whatever before you make the changes that you're going to make, you take a snapshot, then you make the changes, then you do the T1 adjustment, and that's what happens.
Just a tip on that one is I actually name mine because I have, as I'm sure we all do, clients who have multiple adjustments. So it's easier for me if it's a disability tax credit, for example, I'll just call it DTC, and then when they come back because they've missed a T3, I'll just put T3. Just makes it a little simpler than trying to remember which one of these snapshots I'm adjusting from.
I'm just being a lazy bugger while the session's going on. Yes, yeah, we name them separately as well. Okay. Yes, I register for email. Questions are dropping off. Basically, this wasn't bad. Hope I didn't bore anybody to tears. If nobody has any more questions, actually 24 out of 26 people, so we had a fair whack of humans show up for this as well, which is not too shabby.
Norm. You did a great job. Thank you.
Ask anything you want, guys. I'll talk about this forever, but everybody has to go home for lunch. You know?
I gotta go.
Anything else you want to look at? You don't care about paperless office systems? You don't care about anything else? Done? All right, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lauren. That was
That was excellent.
Thank you, Norm.
Yeah, you are more than welcome, all of you. And anybody who's still left, if you want I will try to send this to everyone I have email addresses for. If I do not have your email address currently, and I wouldn't have yours, Jessica, and I don't have Kelly Barnes, my email address is Norman, N-O-R-M-A-N, @adamsandassociates.ca, which is ADAMSANDASSOCIATES.ca. So if you send me an email, I will send you an e-courier package of the recordings, the documents, and answers to questions that I get later on. Okay? Thank you very much, and I am hanging up on you. Okay. Don't give me the email address here, Sandra. Send it to my email. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Norm.
Yeah, you're most welcome. Bye-bye.